Hello, my name is Austin Riley.
And I'm Morgan Gray.
Welcome to another episode of Accessible Airwaves on CGSW 90.9 FM.
This program is dedicated
to the education and exploration of disabled life,
giving voice to the life and experience of people with disabilities.
We cover a wide array of issues and disabilities.
We are people who discuss issues we are passionate about
and topics we are interested in.
We show how disability is in the mind of the beholder.
We are talking to the founder of Diverse Moms Connect, Elizabeth Lecerf, and Beierle.
Diverse Moms Connect is a local group offering support for moms and parents with neuro-diverse kids in the Airdrie and Calgary area.
The group provides a safe space for parents to connect and share experience.
Today is part 1 of a 2-part episode. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth and Hilly. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you both doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Very good. Thanks for having us. We're really excited to be here.
Can you tell us about Diverse Mom Connect? What is the story behind it?
Yeah, so Diverse Mom Connect is a group that Hillary and I started a year and a half or more ago, and we met through friends, and we quickly connected over both raising neurodivergent kids and just bonded over the unique life that is, the challenges, the beauties, and we quickly realized how valuable that connection was for both of us, and we thought about how other parents and moms could really benefit from connecting with others in the same space, maybe navigating it in a new world. And so we wanted to start a group and a way to kind of bring that community together and provide that safe connection piece for others.
Cool.
When was the Diverse Moms Connect created? How many parents do you have in your group?
We started in January of 2024. We had our first coffee meetup, so a year and a half in here. And we have about, I'd say, 50 to 60 families. We usually bring in about 20. We sell about 20 tickets per each event that we host. So we like to try and keep our events a little bit smaller, just to help with that sensory input and different things. So we try to be very cautious of that. But we get a little bit more new families in all the time, which is wonderful. And then we have some consistent ones that show up all the time. But I'd say we probably have about 50 to 60 families that come in and out.
Interesting. Can you tell us about herself, and if you are comfortable, tell us about her kids?
Yeah, so my youngest is now 7 years old, and he was diagnosed with ADHD around the time he was 3, so fairly young for that diagnosis. And a lot of the challenges that we had, especially at the time, were sensory processing, verbal communication, emotional dysregulation, and it was really escalated from what we'd experienced with our oldest. And it just, we got some really great guidance and support in the healthcare system and in the schools that we went to, and they just really helped us through that journey. But we just continued, as we maybe navigated one challenge, we'd find another, and it can be really trying. Sometimes things that work would change and they wouldn't work the next week. So I think a big thing for us is just always navigating changes with our little guy. And as he's getting older and he's being really well supported and creating routines and habits, we're finding some really positive experiences. But the highs are really high and the lows can be really low, and often that changes very quickly. So, those have been some of our biggest challenges, is just navigating that really quick emotional dysregulation piece and trying to guide him through that so that he can, make friends and participate in social activities and in sports, and those kinds of things haven't always been an option for us. And so we still, are figuring that piece out. And as I say, as he gets older, maybe new challenges come with that. But, it's also been a really good experience for us to take a step back and maybe reevaluate, how we were trying to parent, and it's given us more perspective on how that looks differently for everybody, and giving us a lot of grace and understanding that everybody's journey is so different.
Both of my boys are neurodiverse. My oldest is 11 and he has an ADHD diagnosis. He got diagnosed in grade 3. For him, it was more struggling socially. He escalates emotionally. He gets emotionally dysregulated. So that was more where we were seeing his challenges, and just being able to not focus as much in class and different things like that. But once we kind of figured that out for him, his world has really opened up, and he's come up with some really great coping skills. We were already a little bit into the world of neurodiversity. My youngest is going to be 8 on Monday, and he is autistic and has global developmental delay and is also non-speaking. So we have a wide verse of things going on, and he's starting from a really young age, I guess you could say, never really hit a lot of his milestones. He was always kind of just a little bit behind, and he always struggled with really bad ear infections growing up. And so when he wasn't hitting that milestone, everyone would tell me it's just because he needs tubes in his ears, and we were dealing with that part of things. And so once we got tubes in his ears, got that all cleared up, he still wasn't getting to talk, but he was such a happy guy in every other area. I obviously started doing more research on my own, and a lot of things that I was researching were coming up with an autism diagnosis. So we started to head down that road and getting a diagnosis for him, and he was diagnosed at 3. We got into therapy about 6 months later. So we've done a lot of early intervention and different things. As he's getting older, I find that the lack of compassion and grace from people in the outside world, because he's not fitting that typical mold of society standards anymore. People aren't as compassionate and empathetic if he's having a day and emotionally dysregulated, things like that. And he's struggling a lot more socially now as well, because he doesn't have the communication skills that his peers have. And so that obviously adds different layers of challenges. And for me personally, that was where creating this community was super important. I was very isolated, and my child wants to be super social, so I wanted to give him opportunities in a safe space to be able to do that. So that was where a lot of that started for us.
I'm also autistic, just to let you know. Yeah, so which I'm speaking. I don't have a non-verbal piece of it, but it's good to have different disability.
And I love to connect with people that are also your age. It gives me so much hope and excitement to see where Cohen's going to go in the future. His communication skills are always growing. I always say Cohen doesn't do it yet or not yet. I believe in the power of he will. Every time someone says Cohen won't do it, he literally does it the next day. He just, so that just seems to be how he rolls.
Might I tell you, I have a space problem too as well with the kids. They're just a little bit staring. That is me. Do you like to know?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Are there any challenges you'd like to share that your children have experienced or that you as parents have experienced?
For sure. I mean, initially when my youngest had a speech delay and we really challenged to with communication, it was really hard for him to play with other kids his age when he was 2 and 3. And I felt at that time, and even attend things like daycare or, camps, because his communication wasn't there. And so then he would be more easily dysregulated and frustrated, trying to communicate something. So he would use more physical behaviors, which weren't acceptable. And we want to make sure everybody's safe. I found myself like really getting to a place where I would feel like I always needed to explain him and I always needed to apologize. And that was a really hard place to be in because I was getting that point with people that were our friends or people that we connected with a lot, and it just got to the point where I did find myself limiting our social interactions and limiting the things that we were taking him to, whether it be participating in programs or activities or going to restaurants. I remember like with my husband, we went to a restaurant and he was like, we cannot do that again. And it's so easy to like avoid those hard things, but it was really important to kind of push through and figure out ways that worked for us. And I remember being like, well, we're just going to go to McDonald's inside the restaurant and we'll sit there and we'll work on, eating a meal together to teach him and support him in those ways. And then I also think that led me to, socially determining who our people were. And that might have meant that we weren't going to see certain people as much as we used to or connect with them on the same levels. And it wasn't anything like we were upset with them. It was just knowing where we could best support ourselves and our son, creating those safe spaces and environments. So I think socially that was really challenging. I didn't realize how quickly I was at that point of like apologizing for him. And I didn't like that. So that was something that I had to navigate and figure out. And
yeah, so I guess I already kind of talked about just like the lack of compassion as Cohen is aging and society standards. But I guess also as like being a parent, just trying to manage like those interpersonal family dynamics and trying to keep everybody regulated and working as a unit, as a family and on the same page is very challenging. My oldest son, obviously, he's a busy boy too, so trying to make sure that everybody's cup is filled in the right way can be very difficult. And also, my boys are very connected in a lot of different ways. Even though that verbal communication isn't there, we've all become very aware to how Cohen communicates. I feel like we're all very tuned in a lot of ways, which I'm very grateful for. And his brother is his best friend and role model. But when you don't have that verbal communication piece, it is very hard to manage those like relationships, whether it's friendships, siblings, whatever it is. And so, as she said, like, yeah, going out becomes challenging. It can become very isolating too, because we want to go, but we also know what that outcome might be, and it might cause him dysregulation, and you don't ever want to cause that for him. And then what does that look like for us? And I've found over time that people have stopped asking because you don't go. So like just trying to manage all of that like social part, whether it's family dynamics as well, and setting boundaries with people as well. I am not Cohen's voice, but I also am his advocate, and I am his defender, and I am his warrior. And so I have had to set some really firm boundaries amongst people in my life. If they don't understand Cohen, if they, sometimes they look at me and don't think that I parent him the right way, or just any of that. And we've had to cut some relationships out of our life due to that, whether it's family relationships or social relationships. And so just navigating all of that can definitely be very challenging.
I can relate to it because I have a brief, delay too as well. Sometimes I talk, sometimes I say that's wrong, or did this too as well. It is a very serious thing for me to distance me, and
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
I think what's often expected maybe for Hillary and I is like that we have a hard time in public with like other people and stuff. And I think that could be true for a lot of our community. I think Hillary and I have gotten to a point where we're very comfortable and confident in what's our normal and what that looks like for us. But I think for a lot of people in our community, which is a big motivator to create those safe spaces, it can be challenging to navigate those public experiences that look differently, being at a store or being at a recreation facility, and your child is communicating and socializing and playing in the way that works for them, and it doesn't look the same as other kids. And I think that can be a challenge for a lot of people if they're maybe newer in their journey, or they just haven't had the support that, you know, Hillary and I have had. And so I think that's also a really common challenge that extends out, is just the outside world, as Hillary would say, like, and in public, that a lot of our families struggle to navigate, is just the people that don't understand, and most often nonverbal judgment that can be felt. So I think that's a big challenge that we try to remove for the families that we connect with as well.
Through that's where we focus on that education piece and that because we feel the more education that people have and the more knowledge that you know, then it takes away that stigma, it takes away that judgment. You know, I share a lot about my son's stimming and he's all of those kinds of things, and I do that so like when we are out in public, people just get it, and it's they understand, and it takes away from kind of like that shock or the why or whatever is out, because they just have that education piece.
Like every challenge is, like for you two, it's kind of tough. Like what you're going through, like with your children, you don't know what to expect. To have these relationships, like now, it's kind of tough to like remove family relationships, like nanas, like to, yeah.
But for me personally, I only want people around my child who are going to take the time to try and understand him and support him in the ways that he needs, or all of those things. You know, that village, that core for him needs to be strong, and if you're not willing to be a part of that, then you don't need to be in our journey. And it is very, very challenging, and that's where that isolation comes in. But for me, as a mother to a child that is non-speaking, that you're not willing to be a part of his team and cheer him on, then you just don't need to be a part of the team. So.
How did you overcome
The challenges?
this?
So for us, like, we really kind of just started to get some support in place and kind of relearn things. Like with our oldest, we were maybe a little lucky or naive, I think is a better word. We were like, this parenting thing's a piece of cake. Like, it's going so great that we never ever should have said that because, many reasons.
Cheers that.
Yeah, that was never say that ever. And so we had to relearn how to parent, honestly. Our oldest is 7 years older than our youngest. So, when you have a 7-year-old, you're like, I feel like we've got some of this figured out, and we didn't. So yeah, we actually really worked a lot ourselves. We worked with a program. I remember going into it being like, okay, like we're gonna get some support for River, and it really turned into like they maybe talked or interacted with River like a tiny bit. He mostly played, and then it was more about like teaching us, like helping us to understand where he's at emotionally, helping us to understand where he's at cognitively. How do we change our approach? How do we change our understanding? How do we manage our own maybe stigmas, our own emotions, our own traumas, and like unpacking that so that we could show up better as parents? That was honestly and continues to be a huge part of how we support our kids. Is, are we in the right frame of mind, and where are we coming from when we, interact with them? As much as I do think that we personally have had a good experience with support programs, I know that that's not the experience for everyone. And so just really advocating, like the first year that we were in a supportive program when he was 2.5, they were like, okay, like his speech is coming up and like he's good to go, so like you won't be returning next year. And I was like, what? No, please. And they were great. They just maybe didn't have all the information, right? Because initially it was presenting as a speech delay and there was more underlying things there. And so really just being that advocate, like Hillary said, and really voicing sometimes, it very rarely once, twice, 3 times, different ways, and really so that then they started to kind of look at the bigger picture and they were like, oh yeah, okay, we get it. Like we're going to, keep him here and keep providing that support. So like I said earlier, just as sometimes we may navigate one challenge, others may present themselves, or that may change as he grows and develops. And knowing when it's not right either, like I've struggled with a lot of that, Hillary knows, knowing when it's time to say, like, this is not the right support person for us, and they don't follow our goals and objectives and values for River and for our family. And so I just strongly believe it's probably going to take work and it's probably going to be hard, but there's a better option out there for you if you know something's not right, whatever the case may be. Yeah, so just a lot of being open-minded and willing to learn and put the work in.
A lot of it for us is like lowering the expectations. I used to be a really big planner. I would go into every day knowing like exactly what I wanted to do, what I wanted to conquer. I have really had to learn to just going in with that open-mindedness to see like where we're all at on the regulation level, emotionally regulated on that day-to-day, and lowering those expectations and just accepting where that is okay, and just living in that moment with him. Like if there's water today and that's where we're at and not getting the to-do list, that's okay. Try and stay present because each day brings something new, honestly. And then, just finding that circle, those people that you can call that when it is hard and you are having a hard day, that you can pick up the phone and call. That has been very vital for me as a parent in overcoming challenges as well. I've really had to learn to start to ask for help and ask for people to educate me and go in with that open-mindedness. And Cohen changes every day from behavior to vocabulary to all of it. So to be willing to change with him. If I'm rigid, then we're never going to move forward. And just that flexibility throughout all areas of life, I think, is really vital for us.
I sort of relate what you're talking about. Success will overcome it. Sorry.
No worries.
Don't apologize. Yeah, I'm no rush.
Thank you. Overcome my big delay. It is this. I come every Tuesday to the interviews. I and about my speech.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Really, you work hard on it every day, right?
Yes.
And so for me, I always also look at Cohen and I'm like, he works so twice as hard as we ever do to just try and fit into what's socially acceptable or to fit that mold. And so, Austin and Morgan, can I ask you guys a question?
Yes.
I would love to know what were the things that your parents did the best that supported you guys? Like, what stays with you as adults?
My parents were all super great. Sometimes we have challenges in there, but we're all super good.
For me, it would be my mom and my dad, and Focus my brother, and my sister, Focus my brother. They are very supportive. Like everything I do.
That's awesome.
Yes, and I love that every time. And when I go to my swim meet, I always swim me on, like Beierle.
That nice.
Yeah, Evolve. And Focus my mom too. Yep, I love them.
So they're always really involved that night.
Yeah, Evolve.
Oh, I love that. No, that's awesome.
Oh, amazing.
No, and that gives me a great idea, just like from you being just there and being supportive and being involved in all of those ways and just continually showing up and showing that our love for our children is like right there. You just told me like, okay, that's what stands out. All right, I can keep doing that. I'm doing that and I can keep doing that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of events do you plan?
Yeah, so we have a variety of events that we've been putting on over the last year and a half, and many ideas for more. We started with just a coffee meetup for moms and parents and caregivers. Have also put on some really fun kids events. We do open play a couple times a year so far, and so we just, depending on the location, we get a gym space with some equipment, and the kids just kind of come up with whatever they want to play, and it turns into something different each time, which is really cool. And then we have a couple other parent caregiver events that we've done focused around self-care, maybe some growth mindset, things like that. Then we have our big sort of couple holiday events. So we did a sensory sensitive Christmas party as well as a Easter event. So for the families and kids to come and enjoy in a safe space, and those have really become a big part of what we do and kind of what we're becoming known for. My little girl actually couldn't make it to that one, to the Easter event. I was able to experience it a little bit differently, and it was really special seeing parents that were really emotional and really happy to be able to participate in something like that, and they never really maybe had the opportunity to bring their kids to a holiday event before and have a positive experience. So creating a safe space for that's been really, really special. Some of the families that we've seen a few times, what's really cool is they'll come and we can see their kiddos becoming more comfortable and parents becoming more comfortable, because like I can speak from experience. I think a lot of the times I would put restrictions on things more than we needed, and our kids can surprise us and be a little bit more capable than we expect because we just really care for them, want to protect them. And so seeing those families really start to grow in their comfort and the kids interact, and a couple of parents saying that this was really awesome and they never really thought that they could come and participate in an event like that, where it was in some ways a typical experience that a family would get to have, but it was created in a way that was made for, you know, the families and kids that need some different considerations. So it was really neat.
Super special to sit back and watch. Yeah, and like she had said, we really enjoy getting to start to do things for our community. Us as a group, we are just about to get our non-for-profit status, so we're actually able to do more for our community, like fundraising and charities and different things. We're going to be working to get Carolina carts in the grocery stores and Airdrie and different things. Airdrie really lacks a lot of support. The community is growing rapidly. It's outgrown what we have for infrastructure and supports and all of those things. So it's really special for us to be able to add to our community and help support families in those ways. So yeah, we're just excited to continue to put those on and see where we go. So
that's awesome. Next question: have you seen a change in the kids since the start of the group?
Yes. So for the kids events, we've definitely seen, especially in the kids that have come multiple times, they're a little less timid and more open to just kind of start playing and enjoy the environment, and they tend to stay a little longer than they did in the beginning, which is really cool. And some like little friendships are starting to form. Like, I think it's always a bit unique in the world that we live in, what that looks like. It looks a little different than, you know, maybe a typical friendship for kids looks like. But I always say like play adjacent. So they get closer, but they're still like independent in their creativity and in how they play. But yeah, definitely starting to see just sort of that relaxed feel and enjoying the environments that we're creating as they get used to it.
That's awesome.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Have you seen any changes in yourselves or for other parents since the creation of Diverse Moms Connect?
I think we've seen a huge shift in some of the parents in like their confidence in wanting to bring their kids out to these events and knowing that it is a safe space and a judgment-free space, and whether you need to come and stay for the whole time, if you can only come for 5 minutes, if there's that meltdown, whatever. I also see a certain level of, there's a vulnerability that comes with it when we're around each other, and I'm starting to see that as we all begin to connect more, that people are sharing more and just feeling more open, which is really, really great. And then I also, between Elizabeth and myself, I've seen huge shifts. We've gained a beautiful friendship. I also feel like we've become more confident as parents and just more confident in what we're doing for our community and the events that we're putting on, and that we're on the right path. And so I think just confidence all around in our parents and ourselves. And again, like, right, knowledge is power, and they learn from us, we learn from them. And a lot of what I've learned and taken and put into our household has honestly come from other parents that it's worked. And they're like, hey, we tried this. And I'm like, we'll give it a shot, and it works. So, like, again, creating that community and just that confidence to share and vulnerability to share has been really cool to see amongst our parents.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I have much to add. I think too, like that, like you said, that confidence.
Stay
piece.
tuned for next month's episode where we continue our interview with Hillary and Elizabeth from Diverse Moms Connect. You've been listening to
Asa for Airwave on CJSW 9.9 FM.